Do you support Donald Trump?
I do, yes.
Why
I've
so?
been listening to this. I don't know how you do it. I really don't. I mean, some of the people that come up are just, I don't know. There's some just really strange people. Anyway, I think you do a great job, and I think you did well against Charlie Kirk, except I do think you overtalked him too much. So I would like to see a long form.
I actually don't
But I'd
disagree
rather
with you there,
focus.
but yeah.
Yeah,
Why do you
yeah,
support
that's
Donald
fine.
Trump?
I support him. I like what he's doing so far. Love NATO, the 5% GDP increase uh, for defense. I think it makes us stronger. I like the border secure, and I think the economy is doing it fine. I don't know how the tariff thing will work out. I mean, I have to be honest with you. But so far, unemployment's what, 4.2, GDP is 3%, inflation's not bad. The calamity that was predicted from the tariff has not occurred, and maybe it will, but I don't think it will. Japan is eating its tariff rather than pass it on to us on their cars. So those are a few things I like. I like what he's
They can
doing.
only countries like Japan aren't paying the tariff. That doesn't make any sense. If you want to reference like companies that will be paying it essentially, and will eat the cost, they are in the short term companies in the United States, which are American businesses, but they can't
Yes.
do so in the long run. They lose out in the long run, and they then get over because they can't afford to run their operations. So, given that that's true, I mean, it's going to get passed down, and we're seeing that happen as inflation is continuing to rise again. It got down to two point three
It
percent.
has
Now it's
ticked
back
up a
up to
little bit.
2.7. It started at 3% under Biden at the end of Biden's administration. If you want to reference 4.2% unemployment, that's up on in terms of unemployment. The jobs report was so bad that Donald Trump said it was politically biased information and fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which puts us at a huge risk. Now you're saying 3% real GDP growth in quarter two of 2025. That's true, but that came after a 0.3% decline in real GDP in quarter one after several quarters of multiple percentage points growth. So we would have seen even more growth if it is the case that we never implemented tariffs in the very first place.
I do think he's getting a lot of investments in the United States that's going to pay off, um, from a lot of different countries. So I think that's going to help a lot. I disagree with you on the tax. I think people are going to see a tax. They're going to pay less taxes. I know I will with the standard deduction being raised. And 50% of Americans don't even pay taxes. So they'll get a bigger refund. So I think that'll help.
So, for the bottom 20% of income earners, they'll lose after-tax income. So, decrease in after-tax income for the bottom two quintiles or two deciles. For the bottom decile specifically, it would be like $1,200 a year. That's in benefits, specifically cutting Medicaid, food stamps. And you are right that in terms of giving a tax cut to other types of income thresholds. But if it's taking money from the poorest Americans to give to the richest Americans, I don't think, like disproportionately, I don't think that's a good policy. If you wanted to run
If
on
the
like
sorry.
I was gonna say if Republicans wanted to run on just doing tax cuts to the working class, we'd agree with y'all, and you'd get that
Yeah.
passed very easily.
Okay, now I think you said the lowest quintile. So if the standard deduction is increased, which it is,
Hmm.
and the no tax on tips up to a portion, what is 12,000 per couple, OT 12,000 a couple, Social Security people are going to benefit 12,000 a couple, 4 years.
Not for Social Security, but for overtime and for tips and for the standard deduction. True, like those are three aspects of the bill, and along with the child tax credit, that I actually agree
Explain to
with.
me about Social Security because I think you're wrong on that.
Yeah, I never saw anything about Social Security in the bill. If you'd like to tell me about it.
Yeah, Social Security. So if you're single and you're on Social Security, you get a $6,000 deduction. So you don't pay taxes on $6,000. If you're married, you're both on Social Security, 12,000. You won't pay tax.
I don't think that's in the bill.
It's in the bill.
Really,
Check it out. I like
six
talking with you.
thousand.
You're intelligent and you do have a great following and you do earn your money. And I don't know how you do it every day talking to some of these people. You must go home and beat your head against the wall a few times. and then get some rest.
You know what?
And 12,000 per
It
couple.
says for seniors $2,000 for single filers. So for
No, it's six.
it says 2,000 for single filers and 1,600 for qualifying individual for married filers. But it says the OBB adds an additional $6,000. This is per individual. Okay, I see that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Damn, I didn't
yeah,
even know about that before. Thank you for letting me know about that. That's another aspect of the bill I think is good.
that is good. Yeah,
Those are the only
and the
aspects of the bill I
SNAP
think are good
benefits,
though.
I understand what you're saying. I think the purpose of it is for able-bodied people to work half-time, 12, 20 hours, either work, school, community service. That's fine. But I understood your point you made earlier about if you hadn't made disability yet, you are disabled and you're waiting, that's a problem. It needs to be addressed.
Is it also true that 60% of seniors don't pay any taxes on their Social Security anyway?
It is true. So
Okay,
they'll
so
so so they'll get they'll get money back.
only 40%.
Yeah, only 40% pay, right?
Only 40% would get the $6,000 deduction, and that's only if they were even qualifying 6,000 in income. But
I think it's more
um,
than that because say you're married and you're both on Social Security, it's 150,000 or less. So
yeah,
you're
like
going to get that.
what's the top marginal tax rate for Social Security? I mean, that's probably going to be like if someone's getting Social Security, their top marginal tax rate's going to be max 20 something percent. And if their top marginal tax rate's max 20%, I mean, you're only getting like a few $1,000s from this.
Yeah, and some of them, yeah.
Like a
Um,
thousand or two, 1 to 2,000 from this. So it's not like a big sort of thing
I don't
to
know.
people who
I,
are
I
seniors,
really
but
don't know.
it's like
So,
a decent policy. I don't think that's bad.
no, could help.
See, these are the aspects of the bill that if they were in isolation would be good. Like if you just passed a policy with the standard deduction increase, you just passed a
Exactly.
policy with the no tax on tips to 25,000, right, to the 12,500 for overtime, and then the increase in the child tax credit, you would have us on board. But the thing is, it's not just that.
And the
So if
SNAP
we have to look at the
that you're
overall
talking
effect.
about, and
Snap cuts
the
and
SNAP
Medicaid cuts.
and the Medicaid, um, that does worry me because um, ostensibly it's for able-bodied people to get out and work 20 hours a week, which is not asking much. Um, However, the fact that it's not taking effect until after the midterm kind of worries me that they know something that I don't.
Um, I would also say this, that in terms of the work requirements, I think work requirements are really bad. One, because people who are disabled that haven't yet qualified for disability will be negatively impacted. Secondly, in terms of applying work requirements, I think that you can find other ways to incentivize people to work. I don't think that should be restricting their access to food or to like health insurance.
Don't you think there's a lot of people gaming the system, Parker?
No, not really when it comes to Medicaid and food stamps. I think there's more people gaming the system in terms of corporate subsidies in the Department of Defense, in terms of the market manipulation Donald Trump's trying to perpetuate. He also went up to fossil fuel companies and said, "If you give me $1 billion for my campaign, I'll give you $110 billion in tax cuts." He also gave massive, subsidies to fossil fuel industries in general. That's corporate subsidies that are like them frauding the system. That's what I would consider more frauding
Yeah,
the system.
sure.
Like they don't need it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if we're talking about like food stamps and health insurance, these are things people need. So I don't really consider
I
that
think
frauding the
there's,
system. I think it's a human right to have food and health insurance.
sure. My take is that there's a lot of able-bodied people that could be out doing something and they're not.
Sure,
Um,
and then we can find other ways to
I
incentivize them to work.
can't quote a stat on that, but it's just my gut feeling. And if that's the case, then those people should be out doing something.
Sure.
Half the time, 20 hours a week. Community service or school or work is not asking much.
Sure, if you want to incentivize people to do that through other means, go for it. But I don't think that should be restricting people's access to food or health insurance. Again, you should incentivize people to work in other ways that
How
don't
would you do that?
restrict their access. How would we do that? We could provide broader incentives in terms of what's it called? How much benefits they could get for unemployment insurance if it is the case that they meet these certain set of criteria for finding jobs or for looking for jobs, or given that they meet the set of criteria, we can give extra help. We could give employers benefits in terms of, oh, if you pay people a livable wage, we'll give you some help out. So we were essentially subsidizing wages to some degree. That those could be helpful ways.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And also, like
Okay.
we want people to be
What do you?
paid
How do you
more.
feel about
Increasing the
the
minimum wage would
NATO?
help. What's up?
How do you feel about the NATO increase?
I like that NATO is going to be providing more, but I don't think that we're going to get 5,000 or 5% of GDP. I don't think that's possible. I also think that's too much. But I do like them paying up to the 2%, like what we had prior, and most of that happened under Biden. Because I do think Biden works more with the international community. Trump has floated getting out of NATO.
Yeah, I think he did as leverage point, but um,
Sure.
NATO needs us more than we need them. Really, we're more powerful than all the other NATO countries combined. So that was our leverage,
You
and
don't think the U.S. has vested interest in keeping Europe sovereign?
yes, and I think that's what he did. And I saw some, I liked the unity I saw at the meeting with Zelensky and them, with and
I
a lot
didn't
of
see
the
much unity.
accolades.
I didn't see anything new we got from that. I think they just re-invoked their positions that existed prior. And if we want to look at Ukraine, like they're in a worse circumstance for defending themselves against Russia now because Trump got rid of the funding and then brought it back. Like if he never got rid of the funding in the first place, we'd be in a better position in defending Russia or
Didn't
defending
you see
Ukraine
a
against
lot more
Russia.
respect among the leaders at
What's up?
this in Alaska? Didn't you see more respect, more collegiality? I did.
Just because you see more respect, it doesn't mean that there's actually anything meaningfully that's happening. And no, I don't really see that
I
as
think that in
respect.
itself is meaningful. And it did get the second meeting. Putin has agreed to meet with Zelensky, so that's something. And
Yeah, but like
he's
they're
going
not
to.
gonna. I don't think this is gonna actually get us anything. We've already known that Putin might sit down and talk to you,
I
but he's
know.
only going to accept a deal if it is the case that he benefits from it and he gets what he wants.
You know,
You have
as
to
far as
force him into these conditions. That's what I'm saying. Like if
Putin
we
has fooled so
continue
many
defending
people.
Ukraine, we can go longer than they can economically speaking. We'll win.
Pardon me.
They'll know we'll win if it is the case that we can go longer economically speaking than them. The reason why Putin is holding out is because he realizes that Trump would have cut the funding and he has a possibility to try and con Trump to be able to get more power in the context of Ukraine. Otherwise, like if a
Yeah.
Democrat was in office, he's like he doesn't really have a good response.
Well, there was nothing happened under Biden with Ukraine. I mean, we were giving them weapons, but
And we were
that's about
defending them.
it.
We got the entirety of Europe to help defend
Yeah.
Ukraine.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that was all Biden, but Ukraine, Europe is really pro-Ukraine. I like the idea of the security forces. Putin hates that, um, and I think it's going to happen. Uh, whether it's going to really materialize, I don't know. I think there'll be a bilateral meeting followed by a trilateral meeting, and it might all collapse. There's this is a really, really complex, horrific situation. And it's really the ball's in Putin's court. He could stop it at any time.
Okay. So then like how does Trump give you better circumstances here? It
Well,
seems like clearly let Trump puts us in worse circumstances to respond in terms
I've,
of foreign leaders, right? He doesn't have much public confidence around the world. It's not like he gives us more respect with our allies, especially. He's talked about annexing our allies. And then he causes much domestic turmoil as well. He
he
incited a
does.
violent insurrection of
He
the
does.
Capitol.
There's
He
no
pardoned a
doubt
violent
about that.
rioters on January 6th. What's up?
But I think right now Europe is unified behind Ukraine. I think we're behind Ukraine. I think he's gotten off of Putin. He found out he's being played. Um, actually, it's kind of funny, but I think Melania had a little something to do with it because he it was reported that he told Melania, I just had this wonderful conversation with Putin, and hour, 2 hours, and she said, oh, he just a city, I think a maternity hospital, So I think Trump has seen the light. We'll see. But the only way I see it ending, I think Ukraine's going to have to cede this property. I mean, this twenty
Before you do,
percent of their property.
you could say that Trump is identifying like the right way to respond to a greater extent by funding Ukraine, but that doesn't mean that we're in a better position given that Trump was in office. So what I'm essentially saying is, what about Trump's foreign policy in general is better than what we would have had otherwise?
Well, right, I can just cite right now about getting them to at least talk. I mean, that hadn't happened before. I do like the idea of hitting Iran's nukes. I mean, you may not like it, but I liked it. I
What did
thought
that
it
get us
was
with Kim Jong Un? What did just talking get us with Kim Jong Un?
nothing,
Nothing. So
but at
that's what I'm
least,
saying.
but
Like,
it was worth a conversation. Nothing.
you could say, but like we didn't get anything. It really didn't benefit us at all. And it's like one of these things where he's trying to get positive PR for himself, but he's not really getting anything from it. So it's like, are you really just going to give him positive PR just for talking to someone? Not because he got anything from talking to them, but just because he talked to them? Like, I think that's
No,
heavily
but
ridiculous.
I give him credit for trying on that. But I think by
That's not like
hitting
policy like he did that was good, though, as a reason why you'd vote for him. Just because he tries is not a reason to vote for him.
no, I didn't say that. But say, for example, hitting the underground nukes. You know, bunker blaster bombs only go what, 200 feet, 300 feet. But when you send what, 7 down one shaft and 7 down another, you can get to the. And even the defense minister in Iran said that it really wreaked havoc on their nuclear program. Don't you think Kim Jong Un saw that, and he hides his nukes underground?
Repeat what you said. Sorry, I started reading something
No,
else.
that's
And
okay.
I
That's all
apologize.
right.
That was my
You got to
bad.
be fried after listening. I,
I
what
mean,
you've
I
listened
am over
to,
5 hours in, but that's actually not because like I actually
you're
feel
five
totally fine.
hours in, but you're 5 hours in with, I'm only even an hour in with listening to you. But the people that you've talked with would fry my brain. I would have to say, look, guys, love you all, but I got to take a break.
I
But anyway, what I'm
maybe
saying
I've gotten
is,
a little bit used to it.
yeah, it, good luck with that. Anyway, what I'm saying, I think Kim Jong Un did take notice of the fact that we could hit nuclear weapons hidden underground, which is where he stores his. So I think that was a plus, and I think it showed American strength on the world stage. Um, it was a pretty impressive strike. Nobody hurt. Um,
You're
Iran
talking
had
on Iran. So I mean, I that only sent him back 3 months.
Iran.
It only sent him back 3 months, and it is the case that like I don't think that was worth them to do that. I also think that it was bad that Trump pulled out of the agreement in the very first place. If it is the case, you're going to say that like you wanted to prevent them from getting access to nukes. If you want to prevent
Yeah.
them from getting nukes, well, that the best way to do that was through the context of the 24/7 surveillance that was set up through the context of the nuclear enrichment program. And Donald Trump pulled out of that agreement for literally no reason.
Yeah. And he gave him 60 days to come to the table and hit him on day 61. So, and I don't know, right or wrong, I liked it. I thought it was an impressive show of strength. And I thought it showed that we would do what a lot of presidents have said they would do but didn't do. So I thought it was a good thing.
So again, we already
And I
had them
think
at
it
the
did
table.
set,
We
I
already
think
had
it
an
set him back more than
agreement,
3 months
and Trump set us
personally.
back. We had an agreement. Trump set us back, and just because he didn't get them to the table in terms of this new agreement he striked after that point, doesn't mean it is the case that like we didn't have an original agreement where we already were at the table. So they were willing to
The
negotiate prior.
JCPOA,
Just not with Trump.
Parker, the JCPOA was just setting them 10 years away from a nuke. I mean, that's all it was.
So
And it
okay,
was
so
lifting a bunch of sanctions. It was making them rich, and they could support organizations like, right? And what's the one that's the other one that I'm missing? The one that strikes the ships
if you're
in
saying making
India.
them rich, getting rid of sanctions, you mean just limits on their economy that we imposed?
Biden lifted. He lifted
So
a lot of sanctions.
yeah, that was specifically so. Again, they lifted sanctions that they placed on.
Right.
So
And
think about it
which
this
gave
way:
them
if
money.
Trump placed tariffs on a country to get them to negotiate, and then got rid of the tariff, you wouldn't be saying the same thing.
No, no, I would keep the sanctions on
Okay.
Iran
So
until they, because I think
would you prefer them? Would you prefer
personally,
sanctions being in place and them not getting a nuke, or them getting a nuke without the sanctions in place?
I'd prefer no nuke and sanctions. And I would keep the
Wait,
sanctions
wait.
on
Okay,
so they
so no
couldn't
nuke and
afford
sanctions. Okay,
to.
so I said that wrong, by the way. But no
That's
nuke
okay.
and sanctions. So you think that you're going to get no nuke and sanctions, and you think that you're going to do that by them and going to war with them, because in the long term you have to keep preventing this from happening. So you're going to keep them.
Well, I think the sanctions, frankly, I think the Iranian regime is not far from collapse. I think they're in dire straits. I think Russia is in big trouble. There's double-digit inflation in Russia, and I think the economic threat of secondary tariffs to stop them from selling their oil to China, India, and Brazil brought Putin to the table. I think that's what brought him to the table. So I give kudos to Trump for that.
I don't think bringing Putin to the table actually got us anything, though.
May not have. It may have, but we'll have to wait and see how it plays out with
See,
the
but
bilateral
sure,
meeting and the
sure.
subsequent trilateral meeting, right?
Sure, but like I mean, we Zelensky's already told us, even if Putin does agree to something, right? It is the case that he doesn't actually uphold his agreements, not only with the Budapest Memorandum, but also with the exchange of prisoners. They signed off on the exchange of prisoners, and then they never actually did it.
Yeah, it's typical Putin. Um,
That's what I'm saying.
I
So if
think,
it's typical Putin, then you know that he's likely to do that. So what makes you think we're going to get anything out of these negotiations? I really
well,
think it's a waste of time.
I think the security assurances that came out of the meeting was something pretty special. Um, that's Trump's. I mean, that's Putin's biggest fear. You know, let's face it. Putin wanted to take the Donbass reason, all that reason. He wants those four cities, and then there's nothing between Kharkiv and Russia than farmland, right? So he could easily reinvade, but not with security assurances. Then you've got NATO countries on the ground, and then you've got a problem if you invade. So
So if
that may,
security assurances mean U.S. troops, right?
I think it does, yeah.
So now you're saying Trump has implicated U.S. troops being involved.
And Europe is too.
Okay.
Europe has
So
committed U.S. troops to be on the ground to provide these security assurances, and that's a turning point.
it's because of what happened.
I think
Because
so.
we have cut the funding, I think. That's also that. But like I mean,
Hmm.
I think that we would have been able to economically pressure them out. I mean, do you support the sanctions on Russia?
Yes.
So, I mean, I think we could have economically pressured like Russia out in that type of way without having to rely on anything else.
Do you think you could have just get them to pull out completely through economic sanctions?
Oh, apparently Russia won't commit to Putin meeting. Just dropped.
Oh, geez.
Russia is refusing to commit to meeting between Ukrainian President
I
Zelensky
read earlier that
and Putin.
he had agreed to it.
I'm seeing right now that that changed.
Geez.
Yeah, this is from updated 19 minutes ago.
It's interesting. It's sad, but it's interesting. Um,
So then if we, I mean, there's people in the comment section saying leave, get out of the area, right? Pull out of Ukraine. Then why did Trump put us back in?
are you talking about Putin getting out of Ukraine or us getting out of Ukraine? We're not in
Well, I
Ukraine.
mean, that was just a response to a random person in the comments. Sorry.
Oh, so
Yeah. So if you want to talk about, we can talk further about what's happening with Russia, Ukraine. I don't think that Trump's going to get us in a better circumstance with that. I think Trump kind of blew it. Not only that, and with everything that happened in terms of everything prior, I just don't see us really getting anything. I don't think that this foreign policy has been very strong, and especially enough reason to support him.
yeah. So I guess we're going to be back to relying on the economic sanctions period. But even with economic sanctions, as Marco Rubio rightly said, it takes months and sometimes even years before they really feel the bite. So
Oh, they feel it. You
yeah,
can't say they don't feel it, but it is going to
I
be
hope so.
incredibly hard for them to ignore.
Yeah. How do you envision this whole thing ending?
How do I envision this whole thing ending? I have no clue. I'm not smart enough to know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm hopefully optimistic, but pessimistically optimistic too, or looking at it as a realist. Putin has a certain amount of charm about him, but once this started, all that charm was his facade was ripped off, and we saw firsthand how brutal this guy can be. I mean, he is incredibly brutal. So maybe a regime change here. No, not by us, but from within. That
Would
is a
you
possibility.
so you said a regime change within Ukraine, right?
No,
Um,
with Russia.
within Russia? Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess so. Of course, I support regime change within Russia.
No, I would love to see it. Okay, that's really about all I got, Parker. Um, I, I I think you do a great job. I think you have a great following. I think you do make a difference. Obviously, as one person said, you didn't sway the election. Well, one person can't sway the election, but I think you're doing your part for your party, and I wish you all the best.
For sure. Well, I appreciate you coming up. It was good talking to you.
All right, and it was, hey, listen, keep up the great work. Try not to let these people that come up. I've never seen so many weird people come up, and it's embarrassing. As a Trump supporter, it's embarrassing to me to see that they can't make a point, and that they're actually P3DOs. I mean,
Like
we
literally, that was
saw it.
disgusting. Yeah.